Good afternoon. Welcome to ANM News, and this is Abhijit Nandi Mazumdar with the top stories of the day today. We have things happening all over the world, but entire globe is settled, is looking on Nepal. Nepal at the moment is going through a political crisis. But what is the scenario out there? Is Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli on his way out? Is Nepali Congress going to make a comeback? Let's go straight to Kathmandu. Instead of hassling a guest, we'll talk to a very, very senior leader and former foreign minister of Nepal, Mr. Prakash Sharan. He's a very senior Nepali Congress leader and a member of Parliament of Nepal. Welcome to ANM News, Mr. Mahan.
Thank you very much. By the way, right now I am not in the Parliament. I got defeated this time, but I was in the Parliament. I was in the Constituent Assembly. I was in the drafting committee of the new constitution that we had some time ago. So anyway, thank you very much for having me.
Mr. Mahat, we come straight to the point. Nepal is undergoing through some kind of a political crisis at the moment. What do you attribute this to? Because there was a gentleman's agreement that we understand after the communists came to power between Pushpa Kumar Dahal and KP Sharma Oli. There was 2.5 years and 2.5 years of Mr. Oli in power, and then the 2.5 years of Mr. Dahal in power. Of course, that is the internal affair of the Communist Party. But then, what do you think the Nepal? There is a political crisis in Nepal. What do you attribute this to?
Actually, it is basically infighting within Communist Party of Nepal. They promised a lot to Nepali people. They talk a lot of things, high-sounding things. But when they reach to the power with the two Communist Party coming together, apart from that, selling dreams to the people of Nepal, once they were in power, they are basically focused themselves, concentration of power, trying to malign this constitutional framework, this fresh, trying to curtail fresh freedom, and trying to bring bureaucracy, security agency, not loyal to the this constitutional framework and rule of law, but to the party. So basically, their approach was to control everything. That is their approach. And basically, they were indulged in this corrupt practices as well as this misgovernance. Because of all these things, people are very tired of them. And basically, their fighting was basically for grabbing power. The current prime minister is basically focused on retaining the power, and rest of the herd, political leadership in the Communist Party is basically trying to dislodge him. That is what basically happening. And those who are trying to dislodge, they are also not raising issue related to people's problem and issue of corruption. And in the latest stage, when we went through this COVID crisis and basically mismanagement and mishandling, and during the lockdown period, they didn't use this period for basically to prepare the country to cope with the crisis. Rather, they entirely use this time to for fighting. Because of this situation is bad now, we had Parliament. They decided to, suddenly out of nowhere, they decided to, end the session. So this is it. Now they are, this infighting is still going on. We don't know what is going to happen, but as an opposition party and, the party which has fought all along for democracy and a long history in Nepal, we are basically focused on how to restore this democratic norms, values in the country. This is what we are trying to do right now. We can't do anything about this power equation because we are in the opposition and we don't have that many seats in the parliament.
Correct. There's one question which is cropping up. Mr. Oli, whenever he is in trouble, and in the last few days, he has blamed India for trying to dislodge him. He has accused India of doing maneuvers to dislodge him. Now, India's stand as far as Nepal is concerned is very clear that it's an internal affair of a foreign country. So there is no way India itself is going through COVID-19 situation. India is also grappling with situations that pertains to China and Pakistan. So Nepal is an internal affair of Mr. Kepi Sharma Oli to figure it out. So why do you think the Nepali communists always blame India for any of their internal crisis?
Even though it is not that we don't have problem between India and Nepal, we have long-standing issues related to border issue, whereby recently we had a problem and basically we had to come up with our own map. There was no disagreement between Nepali Congress and Communist in this issue, at least. But thing is that we have always said that when dealing with our neighbors and friends, we have to go through diplomatic channel and we have to use our diplomatic skills to forward our case. That is what we did when I was foreign minister and when Nepali Congress Party was in power. We raised this issue, border issue. We need to settle this issue and we should not keep this pending, and which is going to sour relationship between two countries, because we are very close in many ways, culturally, people to people, and because the both countries aspiring for a democratic frame of governance. So because of all these similarities, we have to live together. We have to have a very trusting relationship. And as a small neighbor, landlocked neighbor, India has to be very open-hearted in their approach, rather than saying that Nepal is doing because of some other countries trying to say things. Rather than saying that, they need to, Indian leadership need to look Nepal's feeling intimately, very closely, so that we can have a very harmonious relationship. But at the same time, on the part of Nepali leadership, especially those in power, they should be very, cautious in terms of, what they speak, which may have very negative impact in our relationship. So we are saying that since we are trying to resolve this issue, we should resolve this issue diplomatically. The Prime Minister also need to use diplomatic, diplomatic language. You can't use language which is suitable in wartime. So we are not going into war with our neighbor, with India, no way. So only way to resolve this issue is to try to convince India that there are valid reasons why Nepal is raising this issue, and there are evidences, and India has agreed to discuss this issue. This is outstanding problem. They agreed previously to resolve through diplomatic channels, so they have to do it. So we should have that approach. But because the Oli having his own problem, and not because of this, but because of other reason within the party, so he's trying to bring the other issue, like recently he said that India is trying to play into his party. So I don't know, he may have more information I don't have, but the Prime Minister is speaking that way is not going to help relationship between two countries, because it is not about party to party relationship. It is country to country relationship. Even with China, even though our political framework is entirely different than China. But we have to deal with China because we are talking about country-to-country relationship, and we are its neighbor. Similarly, with India, especially because we have such a close relationship in so many ways. Of course, we need to raise our national interest, and national interest is primary focus of foreign policy. Every country does that. India does, China does. We also do that. So, but we should be very careful when using such language. That is not going to help, anyway.
From what I understand, when you had a very fruitful meeting with our then Foreign Minister, Madam Sushma Swaraj, unfortunately, she is no more. But I've been given to believe that Sushma ji had a very, very good meeting with you on this issue, and this dialogue thing was continuing at that point of time. If you remember correctly, you and
Yes.
Sushma had a very nice meeting on this issue. You have raised the point, and there was a dialogue which was initiated on this issue at that point of time. So, after that, I mean, after the communists came to power, things came to a complete standstill. Now, my final this thing, when they're moving towards this, today's standing committee meeting was postponed till Monday. And so the crisis hasn't ended as that. The parliament session has been suspended, and now they are going towards a split in the Communist Party. In such a circumstances, for any party to come to power, they need the support of the Nepali Congress. So has they approached you for support, and will you contemplate supporting any of the faction of the Communist Party?
Actually, we are not interested at all. Let them resolve their issue themselves. We have nothing to do with it. And we are basically concerned with whether this government is concerned about people's issue, that people are suffering due to this corona pandemic because of the loss of jobs, and a lot of workers who are working in India and many other countries are returning back. So they have a huge unemployment problem. So we need, our concern is whether government is interested in resolving people's issue. So we are not interested in who is going to be prime minister, whether Oli will remain there or somebody will come. And we see that even other leaders who are trying to dislodge Oli and wanted to prime minister themselves, they have never, expressed this concern about this problem people are facing. Therefore, we are not concerned with this. Neither we are interested in joining power. I think very soon we have 2.5 years is gone, two more years is there. So we are rather, Nepali Congress will focus on working with the people so that we can win next election. That is what our focus is. We are not going to say whether we are going to support one faction or other. We are not interested in that.
So in case these two factions split and neither in the form in a position to form the government, what happens in that case?
That is basically a hypothetical question. Let this drama unfold. What happens? How they come out of this infighting? Let us wait for that. We are not going to say anything right now. What happens if there's two factions and one faction needs support from opposition party? We are not interested in speculating regarding this.
I understand. So what I could figure out is that you, as a matter of policy, has decided not to support either of them as of now. You are waiting for the drama to unfold on Monday to see what is actually happening, and then decide on the future course of action. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, let's see what happens. But my point is, even in that scenario, we are not interested in joining, even if that happens, we are not interested in joining either faction or, trying to, get into coalition, because we have seen that that is not going to help much in terms of addressing people's need, because we see that all of them are same, so we don't see much future. We're looking forward to getting, new mandate from the people. Let's see what happens.
Absolutely. So, if the issues are resolved, then one has to wait till Monday to figure out how things are developing. But then, as of now, Nepali Congress prefers to wait and watch and not to join any coalition. They are up for a fresh mandate. That is what a better way of putting it. Nepali Congress is looking for a fresh mandate if the issues are not resolved. Thank you very much, Mr. Prakash Charan Mahat, for being with us and sharing your views and discussing the issue that's happening in Nepal right now. We will keep coming to you because you're a very, very experienced person in not only in matters of Nepal, inside Nepal, but also in the matter of foreign policy of Nepal. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.